Okay, guys, it's 7 o'clock. Let's get started. Troy will be a little late, so we'll just get this going. If you got dues, please get them to Matt and make sure Russ writes it down, especially if it's cash. Come in.
Cash on.
Oh, I want to welcome our newest member, Mikkel Stahaley. She used to coach at PG. She's an excellent official. We worked down in DeFi this week.
You had to work with Bob?
All Saturday.
Stop the punishment, Gary.
And it was great.
Hey,
She does a nice job. It's a treat.
I did, no, but she's assigned tomorrow with him.
Okay, we got a real treat tonight, and Terry Balzer is going to talk about coaching limits and stuff like that, and he'll be good at that. But first, let's turn our time over. Let's go with Gary first. He usually has business stuff.
Do you want me to tell you, how glad that she came around? Because I had 3 one-umpire games this week, and she just took 2 of them, and Evan had 2 of those games, and I was feeling bad for Evan, because one was Maple Mountain Salem Hills. It's like, whoa. So, I'm glad you're here, and if you have any friends. Okay, first, right now.
Like an insult to me. If you have any friends.
I want to do
If I
this.
have any, I can
Hey.
convince to come.
You know, it's only, Kurt, leave her alone. We're more than likely potentially rainouts tomorrow. So make sure before you go very far, if the school is playing. They say it's raining, but it's not constant, so make sure. If you talk to the school, if you reschedule, just tell them, reschedule on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Nobody has room on Tuesday, Thursday for umpires. My Tuesday, Thursdays are shot, as is Salt Lake's, as is, I don't even go in the north. Payson Saturday. Anybody not going to Payson Saturday want to work Saturday? I still need 2 more umpires.
So you're talking about, I'm already on that, right? That's,
You're on that.
Yeah, that's tournament this week.
This week. Anybody else? Can you work Saturday?
If I can find a babysitter, I probably can.
Um,
I'll check and I'll get back to you.
Okay, find out.
Just take them to the game. Nobody else watches their kids.
We find it on that.
I do have a question on the tournament Saturday.
Okay.
And I'm assuming the games are starting at 9 o'clock, right?
Games are starting at 9.
So they'll probably want us there at least 30 minutes early. They're gonna have the field assignments, I'm assuming, because I haven't seen anything on our.
You're not watching the LSU scrimmage or anything?
Oh, all the time. So.
There will be no field assignments until you get there in the south tower, and then they'll all be, if they were like last week, my wife got a hold of them.
They were great.
They were color, every one of us had our own color. We were color coordinated.
Did you say South Tower?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
the new?
No,
That's the old-
the one we,
That's the North Tower. That'd be North.
The
the
new
Oh,
one's,
south.
yeah, the new one's north, yeah.
so check in there, the assignments are there, the candy is there, and the cookies are there.
Okay, where's the
So-
coffee?
Food's there, I'll be there.
Do they have the coffee there too?
They have drinks there, they have no coffee. You have to bring your own coffee.
Okay.
So, is there anybody else that can work Saturday? It's not on my list. I'm gonna go outside the area. I mean, I've already hounded the guys down in Price by me, and I've already got Parham and Steve from there, and
Okay.
so I've still gotta find 1 or 2 more.
Just add me 3 more games. There's one of you. There's one.
Okay. All right. Anybody wanna work 6 games? You wanna work 6? Okay. Joey and Mike, that might do it.
Just put us on a field, give us a box of balls. We're okay.
I don't have to give you the.
Oh, that's
teams-
right.
The teams bring the balls, I don't have to give you the balls. All right. Most of you are accepting your games or declining, but you're accepting them quickly. I am trying to assign them 2 to 3 weeks out. So the week of April 4th, there's only 10 ball games. And so most of us will not have a ball game.
It's spring break, right?
Spring break,
Correct.
there's only 2 games in this county, one at ALA and one at Payson. And so, most of us will not have games that week. But speaking of that week, there is a game at Delta. Bob is going to Delta. Who wants to go to Delta with Bob?
I've
I
been
mean,
there.
Mike goes all the time.
Don't hurry,
Anybody else
don't
wanna go
rush.
to Delta with Bob on the 8th?
Is it over spring break?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go. I don't have school, so I can go.
Okay.
It's worse than having to teach.
I don't have to come back to work.
And Mike, as far as you, I think I maybe have something still,
Don't you have like San Juan or Grand?
no,
Yes?
there isn't.
Nothing?
And Mike wants to travel. No, you can't. Anybody else want to travel? Because I might have a sophomore game at Union, and there's something at Altamont maybe. And I know Mike will go there. Anybody else want to travel
What's the date?
on a Friday?
What's the date?
Like 8.
I think it's the 8th.
I'll go with it.
Kids, I have rehearsal.
Terry's fun to ride with. Bob, not so much, but Terry's a blast.
So
man.
look at that.
You never let Bob drive, he's fun.
Now, let me grab a different sheet here. I had one umpire today bagged out of a Thursday because there was a death in the family, which is perfectly understandable, but I asked them if they could move the funeral.
Priorities.
Okay, you see these days right here? Thursday, Tuesday. Those are the ball games. If you look at my umpire thing, every single person that is breathing has a ball game on that day. So, I'm glad that she's here. That gives me a spare. And Casey Chaprus is sometimes difficult. He doesn't know his schedule.
One man on those days that she's gonna be working on, now, she's
Bob.
working with me on those days, right?
What's her name?
This
week.
Yes, she is working this week.
And
I assigned.
Casey is always.
Very, very good. She's very good.
Okay, I know that. So, anyway, if you have to schedule something, it's only another 3 weeks after this. I mean, we're at halfway point. If you have to schedule something, try not to do it on Tuesday, Thursday, because everybody's working. Nobody is off. I mean, nobody is off. And there are some one-man games. I'm doing Maple Mountain sophomores 2 games this week by myself, because
Can you handle it?
maybe not. I'm not gonna tell you though. But I'm gonna make sure you're on the other side of the county. So, that's that.
Maple Mountain Thursday, 3:30?
Yes. Now, coming up in about 2 weeks, on a Saturday, there is a Spanish Fork sophomore tournament. I know I worked it last year. I think, Mike, were you there?
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
So, if you wanna work, I think it's Easter weekend myself. So it's that 16th or whatever. If you wanna work Spanish Fork, how many of us were there last year? 4? Did we work with
I got a
adults?
Picture of it.
More than that.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I got pictures. Both of you were there.
What?
That was the state
You
playoffs,
got 2
yes?
minutes left.
Okay, so if you wanna work the Spanish Fork sophomore, I think on the 16th, let me know. Send me a text. And that's on my list, so, and thank you for I'm trying not to be, I look at Northern Utah. Let me tell you, there's games on Wednesday that are not assigned. Most of the list is not assigned, so I don't like that as an umpire. I don't think you guys do, so. anyway.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, Gary. Gary does a great job. He's very transparent. We know what's going on. It's wonderful. Where did Matt go? He had a couple of situations.
He lived that way.
Okay, why don't you get started? And if Matt comes in and you got a minute he's got a couple of game situations.
It
he
might
wants to
fit
talk
right in.
Huh?
Matt might fit right in.
about. All right.
I feel like I'm talking to the choir. Yeah. Well,
What's his name anyway?
No, you're great.
I think all these faces go.
You want us to sing?
Yeah, we could, whatever.
But what Carl Jensen was thrilled to see with the ballpark the other day.
They needed you to do that, then I'll do mine.
Oh, a couple of plays, gotta show you one that was really interesting. No, I mean, a whiteboard pen.
I have to keep stealing one.
Don't you have a bunch in the office?
Oh, yeah.
I just put you in the office. I don't know if you guys can see this over there, but I had this situation. Bad field, but that's okay, we'll have to live with it.
It looks like.
So I got runners on
Rec field, that is.
first and second, and batter comes up and hits a pop fly to short right field. And the second baseman's coming out, none. Right fielders coming in, converging on the ball. It drops. Third base coach, this girl starts to take off. Third base coach screams to go back. So she gets to about here, she goes back. This girl just takes off screaming. Ends up right here, when she's right here.
Uh-oh.
Okay? She's just.
There's enough.
So then they tell her go back, so she cuts across the infield. This girl now heads to third. The throw comes in, and they get her out at third. So there's an out here. Obviously, there's an out here, and the runner from first went to second. They threw it there and got an out. Now, I had 2 triple plays this week. I've never had one in my life. But the thing about it is that especially this play right here, this was a JV game, of course, right? We did the JV tournament. This was a JV game. And those are the kind of things, in JV games, you get the weirdest crap that goes on. And you really have to be on your game. That's when a knowledge of the rules is really important. Varsity game, you can maybe get away with not knowing it because the girls know what they're doing. But a JV game, man. So I had this, I'm looking at that play going, I'm almost chuckling. And the coach is like, oh, this is so bad. But yeah, so I had her pass it, even if she hadn't, just cutting across the field, right? She's out twice on that play.
If it's appealed, right?
So you
If it's
had a tag
appealed,
play
she's
at
not out
third,
just by
right?
cutting across the field.
You had to have
What's
a
that?
tag play at third,
Yeah,
because the force out.
yeah, that was a tag play.
Because the force had been removed.
Yeah, the force had been removed, yeah. Yeah, so the force had been removed, so we had a tag play here and a tag play there.
So you called an infield fly?
No. Are you kidding?
Okay,
I did not.
okay. So I'm
Because-
just wondering how you got that out, other than she passed the runner.
Because infield flies in a JV game are, I mean,
I understand that,
Yeah.
okay. I'm just saying you got first and second, and you said she's out, and the play at third is not a force play. So
Yeah,
I'm trying
she
to
was
figure
out.
out
As soon
why
as she
that would be.
passes-
yeah. She
Are you
was out
saying
when
that
she
she's passed and you called her out?
Yeah, as soon as she passes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that-
Here and
that's
there.
a force.
Well, wait a minute,
You
wait a
did call
minute.
her out for passing the runner.
Yes,
So my question
so
is.
now the force is off.
Did you
Yes,
call
of
it
course it's
a
off.
dead ball?
But my question is, no, it's a
No,
live
it's a
ball,
live ball.
runner's out for
It's-
passing.
It's a live
okay?
ball, no, I
But
didn't call
when
it.
she drew the throw to third for the
Yes.
tag, you said you had an out. That should, in my opinion, that should be a dead ball. We have an interference because the runner who had been put out.
No,
didn't
not
throw.
this runner. This runner who was not out.
No, it's.
The runner-
Broke for
The
third.
runner who started
Oh,
second,
gotcha.
was the batter
The
second.
runner who
The runner
passed
first
first.
I see what you're saying.
It was,
And then the runner at second
She's
was
still
third.
alive, so the
Yes.
throw comes in and she gets tagged out here. The runner hit the pop fly, went to first, and when she saw the play going there, she took off and they threw there and got it.
Ah, got it.
So the runner who passed her was called out for passing her, was
Right.
cutting across the diamond.
Yeah, and then
back
she
to
cut her.
first.
She never drew a throw.
Oh, she did draw a throw.
And she
No.
didn't even know she was out. She didn't realize
Okay.
she was out.
Okay.
It's like, you're out, but she's just she's trying to get back to first.
Okay, so
Following you.
my only question, if for whatever strange reason, because it is a JV or a
Right.
sophomore game, the girl cutting across the field, if she'd have drawn, somehow they make a play on
Right.
her, now we got a
Then we
dead
have
ball.
Now we've got-
interference.
yeah.
You don't know
Yeah.
because where's her dugout?
Okay, all right.
Where's her dugout?
Here,
Okay, then she's going
Yeah,
the wrong
but
way.
Yeah,
even so,
she's going the wrong way.
Yeah,
Right.
she's out.
yeah, her dugout was over here.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, yeah, so she could, if she'd have drawn a throw, yeah, that could have been another
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
It was
That was
such
my only other
this was such a weird situation that I wouldn't be surprised if that would have happened,
Wonderful.
but.
You got another one?
Can you clarify with me what Mark was saying, that just because she runs past the runner and then cut across the field, you wouldn't be calling an out? That has to be
I
an
got an
appeal
out right
play?
here.
You call her
Not
out
for
once
passing
she
the
passes.
No, no,
but
no.
she's not, you're not calling the out for
But
running.
this one, yeah,
Cutting across
she's
the
already
line.
out, yeah, it's,
Well, even if she wasn't out, you wouldn't call her out unless it was appealed.
Right,
She
it's
did
an
not
appeal.
return
Yeah.
touch second
Right,
in
because
the
she has
proper
to-
order.
yeah. Yeah, so I had another triple play. This one was more conventional though, so I don't even draw it, but it was just runners on second and third, ground ball to shortstop. Shortstop throws it first to get the out. The runner from third decides to stop, but the runner from second goes. So they throw it to second, she runs into the tag, the runner from third goes, they throw the plate and give it. I mean, 2 in 1 week. I've never had one in my life. 2 in 1 week. So.
You ever had, I assisted triple play.
What's that? I've never had a triple play, so
I
couldn't have an unassisted
I had
one.
an unassisted triple play in the 10U game. Runners on second and third, line drive up the middle, the catcher, Mr. Carter, along to it, saw the girl halfway between home and third, she charged over to third base, beats her back, with the second out.
Yeah.
The runner on second was standing on third, and she goes back to second, she chases her and tags her. You know the game ball went, the game over?
What's that? That was.
And I dropped the game ball in her glove in the game.
There you go. If we have anything else like that you guys want to talk about that are weird situations like that, this is a good time. We don't want to take too much time, but it's a good time. So I'll turn the time over to.
Can I interrupt this first?
Yeah.
And that's because I just talked to Troy and they're not gonna make it because their game was just got over. He's over at Spanish or somewhere. And I just thought, he just doesn't wanna come all the way here. So that's-
Because he lives in Mapleton, yeah.
He just basically said, and we've had some of our guys assigned other games, other places. If they don't call and go through, if they don't call myself or Troy first, please do not accept those games. Because if it's on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we probably don't care, but on Tuesday, Thursday, I need you. But Troy just wanted me to emphasize that. So if Salt Lake, and Larry's not gonna be there, and so don't accept from Parham. As much as I like Parham, don't accept, so. Unless you call us and we'll tell you if we can spare you. Thank you. Hey, Terry, you want me to interrupt you again?
Go ahead.
No, I have nothing more to say.
Just a question. How many have had issues with coaches? Softball is just, it's such a wussy.
Other than Cedar Valley?
Nobody has issues with coaches.
Well, Duchesne thought we had a game with Duchesne, they thought we were always out of position, and they always wanted to see us the other guy, but he's 60 feet away, do you think he can see better, or, which might be the case, but. No.
More,
Did you
Terry,
check the
more
scene,
on,
Bill, to see if you got
more on where younger officials are going to see it, because coaches are creatures of habit, and when they don't know somebody, they start questioning balls and strikes and those types of things. So talk about how we deal with those issues, because those are the first things that are gonna pop up.
Do we allow coaches to question balls and strikes verbally?
No.
No.
So how do you handle that? Top of the first inning, we got some loudmouth from Timpanogos over here popping off that the ball, he wants a strike here. That's a strike, throws down the clipboard.
Jeremiah.
How do we, no, I'm not gonna say.
Well, we all know it. No, we all know it, James. No.
So how do you handle that? What's your personal ethos for dealing with that specific situation?
I had one in that situation last week. With Timpanogos, by the way. And,
No, you don't say.
I had been given a strike up here, right, it had to be a little lower, my zone stayed there the whole game.
I said that your zone looked good too many before he yelled at you.
Yeah. So a 6 foot tall batter comes up, and all the others are in the 5'6", 5'5" range, no shorter. Plus their squat, so that brings their zone down. Well, this girl's 6 foot tall, in my judgment, her zone's higher. I get that pitch that's right at the top, where in my opinion was a strike. I call it a strike, and of course he comes untangled. Cause I hadn't called that pitch all game. Well, I hadn't had a batter that was 6 foot tall all game where the pitch was.
That had been a strike all day, Blue.
But it's different looking, yeah, it looks different because the batter's taller. Yeah, you haven't seen that strike called all day because it hasn't been there all day. Finally it's there, and it's the one and only pitch that's in the zone, but up from the rest of the girls, and he goes goofy, you know, and I just turned out around, and I gave it to him right back. I'm like, she's 6 foot tall, coach.
You said, Jeremiah, yeah, she's 6 foot tall, okay?
So the zone's taller, and you shut up.
Then you
That's one
apologize.
way to handle it. Tell it.
You did apologize.
I gotta tell you, I'm old. We've known each
Yeah,
other a
yeah,
long
we're-
time. We've known each other
This
a long
is,
time.
this
forgot
is
already?
singular, okay, it's plural.
And I perhaps see things a little different because I'm not of this modern generation. But instead of saying this is how I handle it or I don't handle it or this is how you do, because that'll be anything from soup to nuts.
Sure.
But I just carry a general philosophy.
Yeah.
Most of these coaches are really, really good people. What are they making, 25 cents an hour on a good day? You know, they love the kids, they love the girls, they love the game, and they're just good people. Every once in a while you get a bonehead, that's true, but for the most part, these are great people. And I think if you treat them with respect and dignity, it goes a long ways. And I think sometimes, you know, they do have a moment and kind of lose their marbles for a minute, you know? But I've always found that if we try and officiate with kindness, if we will give them a little bit of grace, we do not want to, I don't know what other people do. I don't want to embarrass that coach. I believe in second chances. But I think that a quiet, private conversation between me and him can solve a lot of things.
Awesome.
And letting him know that, hey, I want you on this field, not on the bench. I'm here to keep you here, not out. Let's talk, let's get this. This can't go on, but we gotta get along. You know, and most coaches I've found respond really well.
I have found that some things will come out of a coach's mouth because we've been taught since little that we talk at baseball games or softball games. You go, you get on the amp, you talk, and you're talking. Some of it is just spewed. It's when they continue it that, but I've never had many continue it. They have the one thing, but then they go away and they're usually, by the second, third inning, they're great, and they forgot all about it, so.
A comment is different than a reaction. So you said that coach threw a clipboard. I'm calling time, and I will go over and I will have a polite. I'm not so quiet because I have a big voice, but we're going to talk about, Coach, do you have a question? And he's gonna say what, or she, and I'm going to say, well, obviously we can't be discussing balls and strikes, so what has caused you to react in such a, well, we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation, and it'll probably end by, if you have a question, I will be more than happy to come and talk to you, but we don't want that reaction anymore.
Thank you very much. I think we'll all agree that it's a kinder, gentler officiating world than it used to be. Particularly in softball. I refer to that particularly in softball, because many of you know I had a long career in baseball also. And baseball is a bit more antagonistic and aggressive just because of what they see on TV every Saturday and Sunday. I think we need to, I think one of the, something that works for me is I think we need to realize that the people that we're dealing with, the coaches in high school, this is something else that they're doing. They're teachers first, right? That's what they do, is they teach. Just like this is something else for most of us that we do. This is not our profession. It may be an avocation. That's great. I think Evan's point about kinder, gentler is always better. And silence, many times, is really good. If we have a situation where we have a coach that's coming out of his shorts over here, one thing that works for me is a look. I've acknowledged that that I've heard him. I've heard him. Okay? And then what he says, what are you looking at? Back in the old days, the word you. Okay? What?
No, I'm just, the you part, once it gets personal, that was the.
I agree. We have a really nice here in this county. For the most part, I would certainly concur with Evan that these people are really excellent people.
Yeah, I'm like you. I about not as many years, but I did 16 years, 17 years of baseball. And I was a lot. It's like, you know, right? First time you talk balls and strike, coach, we're not talking balls and strikes. And the next one is, you're in the dugout. You know, it's a lot, because it is. It's more, I'll give you a word that I think describes baseball. It's adversarial.
Adversarial.
It is, and if you're not in their dugout, it doesn't matter if you're umpire or the other team, you're an adversary. And softball officiating has been great. There's not that many coaches that get out of control. Very few. Very few.
Well, I've worked with Matt, and I've seen him say, you know, that, hey, coach, we don't talk balls and strikes, and that's all it really takes.
Yep.
And I use that because that's something that I saw Matt use.
Sure.
And that's something that I use now, and I think it's just very effective. If it continues, then, like you said, you can warn them or confine them to the dugout, and, you know, try and be as patient as possible.
We are lucky that we do have we can use a warning, we can use confining to the dugout, where before it was, once we've had enough, we're
See, I was totally against all that warning stuff when it came out. I'm a warning? You warn a coach? Yeah. Oh, you warn him, and then he gets to sit in the dugout before he gets thrown out. That's like, man, that's umpire abuse in my book, Evan.
Yeah, Mindy asked me a question, what about fans? Do we want to address it in this conversation? Should I address her afterwards and go over it with her personally?
What about fans? We talk to fans?
No.
We don't hear fans.
Ask for the administrator.
I'll be honest. Can I say something?
Let's get
Can I
to the
say
honest
something real quick? Look, I learned as a coach, not as an official. You do not open that can of worms.
No.
Do not address unless it gets out of control. Like I had a baseball game one time in American Fork where an Alta parent tried to come on the field and fight the pitcher. Now in that case, now I got to address the fan.
Was Littlewood, was Littlewood coaching Alba then?
No.
I would say though that in basketball, football, they generally have an administrator there that will take care of any fan problems. I don't know if I see that much in softball. Sometimes I see an AD there, but generally I don't. And so there's a little bit of a different nuance that goes with this world than it does when I do basketball and football. So again, we're talking about coaches, so maybe I'll just talk with Mindy after. But I don't know if we want to address that or not.
Well, I think we actually do need to address it.
Yes, let's do.
Because we don't have a lot of administrators at games, and so I think it's important that we understand, if there's not an administrator that's there, then if you can identify the fan of the team that it belongs to, then you need to go and have a conversation with a coach. Okay?
You know, if you've got fans behind you that are making comments and stuff.
That's different.
Between an inning, you know, if you walk over the fence and say, oh, you didn't like that call. I was like, yeah, I mean, just have some fun.
Yeah,
You know,
I
just
agree.
softball.
We're talking an obnoxious fan.
Solving the problem.
Not,
Same
not,
thing,
So-
same thing.
Well-
So, you didn't like that corner, huh? You know, something like that, nicely, and it's fun. It really is fun.
Can I tell you a quick story, then we'll get to Mike? This is how things have changed. Some of you know my dear friend, and some of you were dear friends, a man named Jim Gilbert.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Gilbert is an icon. For those of you who don't know Jim Gilbert, I'm sorry that you never met
He
Jim
was,
Gilbert.
he was a
okay?
clown sometimes.
He is by far the most official that I ever worked with, all the way from the old ASA, whatever, up to the BYU stuff. The only time I ever heard Jim address, because he had a personal rule, I don't hear anything in the stands. There was a guy, a leather lung, down at BYU one day, and again, this is in baseball, and I don't mean to keep bringing baseball in, but I think it applies. Sorry, Jim, I've told him I wouldn't tell any of these bad stories. There was a guy at BYU that was just railing on Jim. And most of you know that Jim, he very seldom missed a pitch. I think I've gone seasons working with him that he never missed a pitch. This guy was railing on him. And many of you remember how boisterous Jim was, loud. He never said anything soft. So he goes back to the screen. Gary Pullins was the coach at the Y. The guy goes, "You're bad." Jim goes, "You wouldn't know bad if it beat you right in the ass." And turned around and walked away. I looked at Pullins, and Pullins is on his knees. Just cracking up. But no, we don't talk to people in the stands. As a general rule, we don't hear them. They have no impact on what we do out there. That's exactly right. You open up that can of worms and it's bad news. Mike, you had something.
2 weeks ago, St. George varsity tournament, I'm base umpire. My plate umpire makes a big call at home plate. A lot of people think he got it wrong. Their fans are really loud. He turned and he was wrong, but it's okay. He turned and went and engaged a fan.
No.
Obviously, I'm watching the train wreck happen. I can't save him from 80 feet away.
Right.
Within moments, there's only one way this can go. That fan is now ejected. He's ejected the fan out of the ballpark. There's nobody even in there, St. George, Little Valley, to even get that fan out of here, right? And now he's got to go to the coach, and it happened to be Timpanogos, and it happened to be the coach's father who used to coach. So you all know who this is, okay? So it's so here's what we learned. Here's what we learned. There's no upside to engaging the fans, especially after a big play like that. You got to go silent.
Mark, you had a question.
So I wanted to bring up a situation that we had in at Cedar Valley on last Wednesday. There were a group of students that were there supporting one of the players out there, and the opposing team used verbal signals to give the pitch to the pitcher. They started mimicking and mocking that signal. What do you do in a situation like that?
In my opinion, I would first go to the head coach, say, "This is, coach, I need some help here." Okay, lay it on the coach, the head coach of the team. That's what I would do first. Coach,
No, it was students.
Coach, I need some help. It's before the national anthem. We're at high school sportsmanship.
Yes.
Which in my mind would go smack right up against what was happening, smack right up against any of the sportsmanship concepts that we type behind. But go ahead, Gary, you had something.
Well, as other comments came up, Mike's favorite official over here, and the UIC allowed this to happen. His first game of the day, I understand he had a soda in his hand. So we don't do that either.
Oh, we can't take monster drinks on the field and say it's our medicine?
Between innings?
No, but on the field as you're making calls? Put it under one arm, you can't do that?
Ball bag, it's a nut and fruit bag.
When you're in the field, you'll need the one.
It won't happen again, probably. And yes, I did work with Jim Gilbert. And if you'd have quit flipping that stupid coin, I would have been happier. But, back to administration, we had a Zoom meeting with all the chapter presidents and the assigners last Monday. And we talked that, that's what we're gonna push, is administration at every ballgame. Now, they might be going between baseball, track, and here, but they will be there, so for when that fan, we go to administration, they handle that fan. They're also supposed to have first aid, just like in football. I mean, I coach football, and before our game, an ambulance shows up. Basketball, there's a trainer or a medical person there. We don't have that, but there's supposed to be that at our games too.
I've seen a few.
Yeah, they're there.
They're getting there more, but they're
The problem
supposed to.
is, like you guys were saying, there are so many things going on, they only have one trainer.
Track, soccer,
between
Mhm.
lacrosse.
But they're supposed to be,
Kristen, I've
and
had Kristen in softball.
the presidents are gonna work with UHSA and club about the remedy in that. So
Good.
that is gonna be addressed, that one item right there.
In the meantime, is there something we could do in the plate meeting that might help us cover some of that?
I don't know if I dare say this, because this is not a protocol, this is just an evidence. But I'll tell them, I says, coaches, you know, there's two kind of conversations we're gonna have. There's a private conversation and a public conversation. A public conversation, because there's distance, and you're gonna say stuff out loud. But there are strict rules that govern this, and if you step out of line, I'll put the hook on you, because that's my job, and I will. But you can't coach like that. So if we need to talk, you call time, we come together, we have a private conversation, and then we can get things worked out. Because we work so hard on sportsmanship, and then we make them act like idiots sometimes, you know? And I just tell them, and I just put them in that terms, and after that, they're usually as good as gold. They come up, we talk, solve problems.
Here's something that has worked for me fairly well over the years. When we're at the plate meeting. The plate meeting is not an old home week. Oh man, hey, how's your sister-in-law's cousin's nephew's daughter? Okay? Should be kept cordial, but professional. Softball is a little gooey because most of us have umpired with most of the coaches currently. And we are friends, but I'm not sure that, I still haven't been convinced that in the heat of battle, they're our friends. Does that make sense?
They're not.
Okay. I was taught years ago that, of course, this is a whole different world now, but we don't have any friends out there except your partner. That's why protocols have been established to really give us an edge for control. You got a comment?
Yeah, I don't know, this is just a thing I tried to do. Sometimes I want to redirect the coach away from me. So there's a ball comes in, it might be a little bit outside, and you hear this coach make a comment, where's that one at? And I'll just whisper to the catcher, tell your coach that was outside. And the catcher, coach, that was outside. Now the coach is not gonna argue with that catcher. But if I say, hey, that was outside, he's gonna argue with me.
Yeah, we're just gonna get to that, and see if you can generate some allies with the players. I think if you treat these gals with some respect, you know, they're gonna help you out. The preface to any comment that I make to a coach is always, coach, help me out here. Help me understand. The other thing in dealing with coaches that are less than happy with you, I've seen this mistake made many times, where an umpire will assume what a coach is gonna say. Okay, you kick the call at second base, here comes the coach. So what do you assume that they're gonna talk about? 99% of the time they will. Your assumption is they're gonna talk about that play, right? Let them talk. Don't interrupt them. If they ask you a question, answer it with a question. What do you got? What'd you see, coach? This is what I've got. What'd you see? engage them politely in conversation. But don't assume what they're going to ask you. I've seen antagonistic, aggressive umpires. Coach comes out and I know what you're gonna say, and I've got my script all done right up here in my head. And if you open your mouth, I'm gonna lay it to you, right? That is the wrong attitude. There's a big difference between being assertive and aggressive. Let them be aggressive, not you. Ever be aggressive. And you never have to raise your voice. Ever. You have the rule book. You know what the protocols are. If you don't, you should. Be calm. Let them talk. Unless it becomes personal. If they want to talk about this play, you know, whatever. We'll talk there for a little bit. And every situation is different, so we don't jump into some coach's lap because they see something different than we have. That's part of the deal, guys. That's what you signed up for. Am I wrong? That's what you signed up for.
Well, I think
They see it different than you. Honestly, see it different than you. Own the call, be confident, and listen to the coach and what they have to say. After they go around the circle 3 or 4 times, then it's time to, coach, we need to get this game moving right along. Okay, we need to get it going. I'm not gonna change my call here, coach. I heard you, appreciate what you had to say. Let's move on. Now, if you got a coach that's circling back around, that's when you might have to be a little more assertive. Coach, what does this do? Not this, but coach, I've heard you. We're not going there anymore. Let's get the game moving. What do you say? Anything wrong with that? Any comments about being able to diffuse that or help that coach? Let me ask you another question. If you get into a elevated discussion with a coach, and you say, Coach, that's enough, we're finished, let's get on with the game. Do you ever turn it back on a coach? And you start walking away? How would you feel if you were a coach and an umpire says, up yours, turned and walked away? I think this goes hand in hand with this kinder, gentler thing that we've got going here with softball, okay? Listen to them, be assertive. Coach, we've talked all we're gonna talk. Let's move on, okay? But don't turn until they start to go away. That would make me so mad as a coach if an umpire turned his back on me. I would be right in his shorts, man. He would have to dump me at that point.
I think, I don't know if you guys are Spider-Man fans, but there's the key line of the little Spider-Man thing with great power, right? Comes great responsibility thing.
Right.
And I think we have to understand that as officials, we have absolute power out there. And it's really easy to misuse it and abuse it. We have to have the utmost care and responsibility to use that properly. And what you're talking about is respecting the coach. How are you going to expect to be respected if you won't give respect? How are you going to interact? When we are working out there, there's nothing they can say or do unless we allow it. And it's a frustrating thing to have something to say and have zero power. And when we share power with the coaches, I think that takes away a lot of that. You talk about that adversary, Matt, and you can start to work as partners instead of this thing to do. Because, you have all the power and you own that show. And I think it's very important that we use that power with great respect and great care.
I agree with that. Any questions about that?
No,
I was just saying,
just 9 times out of 10, they don't want to stand there and just argue with you. They want you to go to your partner for help.
Yeah.
And I'm very gracious about that because that ends that conversation. What's the question you have, Coach? Great. I'll be more than happy to talk to my partner. Go talk to the partner, come back, ruling's still safe, let's move on.
Okay.
And as opposed to just that being in their face and we're gonna have this. Now, I'm not going to my partner. I got all 4 things. I saw everything. I don't need to go to them. I don't have to do that. I
See,
can,
that works very well in softball. Doesn't work too good in baseball, but it works really.
They don't get together on baseball.
No.
My
Nope.
kid hit the glove off the catcher and everybody knew it.
Exactly.
And he did not care and he would not talk to his partner and the coach came unhinged and he had every right to. I was like, go push now.
Kim?
Yeah.
Kim got
He came-
upset?
He came and he was embarrassed and I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah.
It was really obvious and it was on a strike. It was real bad.
Terry, I think that when we had this conversation with the coach that we're talking about, sometimes it's easy to forget that there's another coach involved. And sometimes he'll come out and do a spiel and, oh yeah, and then we just come out and give a signal. And I think, what is this coach thinking over here? If you go against him and without any courtesy, he's gonna come out like a shot and fight for his girls. And now we just open up, the 4th of July. But if you just take a moment, walk over to the coach and say, this is what we've discussed, this is the ruling, this is what we've got here. And then generally they're like, oh, okay.
Give
And then
some
everything's
information.
good. But I think sometimes we just forget because he's not raising the ruckus.
Don't
and we
leave him
just-
out of the
we just-
decision.
I say it loud so they can hear. With new information.
Yeah.
Great.
I say it where you can know what's
Great.
happening.
I've actually got both coaches together and explained
Yeah.
the complicated
Yeah, I've done that.
situation.
That
Say,
works.
coaches, come here, let me explain to you what we decided.
That works perfect.
It-
Works perfect. Diffuses everything.
Trent Jensen did that once when we were doing a baseball game together. We had a play and we had to get together, and before we got together, he said, coaches, I'm gonna go talk to my partner, and when we make a ruling, that's it, we're done, and we're gonna start playing. And we came over, we talked, we made our ruling, coaches were good.
Great.
And that's basically, baseball coaches are pretty.
Well,
I guess there's a difference maybe between a judgment call and when we're really getting down to the application of maybe of a rule.
True.
Hey, Chris had something over here for a while.
We were just talking about, ending a conversation with the coach, and he won't go back, and I find it effective to walk with them and just kind of
Walking
drift
back
your
to his
way
dugout.
toward the dugout, and then, eventually you're there,
They'll
and
get
you're
in
like, thank you, and then he's already there.
kiss him goodnight.
Very good point. Very seldom in softball in high school are we gonna get this knockdown, drag out, scream and yell situation. If that ever happens, as a partner official, come down and see if you can help your partner, okay? And this is the way I always helped my partners. My partners never helped me because I was never in trouble, right? But come down, never touch a coach, never allow them to touch you. Body language is everything. Coach, we gotta get this thing going. Let me walk you over the dugout here. You yell and scream at me, you yell and scream at me. Anything you wanna say, anything you wanna say. You're upset? Oh, I can see you're upset. Come on over. Okay, we'll walk him over. You scream all you want with me because if you keep screaming at him, then you're gonna be sitting in the parking lot. Here, let me help you out. That should never happen in softball in high school in this state. But don't inject yourself in the conversation unless you can see that your partner is getting chewed up. Yep.
Yeah, I want to go back, because we're kind of going off a different direction.
Sure.
But when we go and talk to that other coach like we talked about, I think it's also important to listen, because I've had coaches at that moment bring up another point and say, yeah, but what about this? And it's like, oh, we never even thought about that. And had to read back together, say, wait a minute, we got a new element here, and had to change again. So again, if we just go up there to inform him, again, he still needs an opportunity. We need to do a little listening and to make sure we get it right and stuff. So
My point is, listen to what they have to say. Don't assume what's going on. Listen. Become listeners instead of enforcers. How many of us go out there and we've got a badge on our chest? I'm an umpire. Here's my badge, see? It's not a good attitude.
5 minutes.
Great.
5 minutes.
Okay, couple other things, and we'll quit. The other thing I would say would be try to develop an ethos of confidence, but not cockiness. There's a big difference between confidence, and hey, I'm here. Look at me. I got my badge. Cockiness never has a place on the ball field from an official. That is a sure sign of a lack of professionalism, okay? This is not about you. As much as you'd like it to be, sometimes it's not
Well,
about.
we should tell the coaches that.
True.
Sorry. Well, and I think you can address some things like that. If you've had a coach that is kind of on balls and strikes or on whatever, you can address that. You can say, hey, you know, we're not gonna question balls and strikes here today. I've done that.
I do that.
I haven't done it in a softball game, but I've done it in baseball games.
Sure.
Play meetings and say, hey, you know the rules, okay? If you wanna talk to me, call timeout. After the play's over, come over. Hey, we're not gonna talk balls and strikes, but if you have something you feel like you're not sure about a rule, come talk.
Also, know who you're working with and who you're working for. If you have a veteran softball coach, and I know he's retired now, but Don, when he was at Spanish Fort,
He's in promo.
he would eat up an umpire that he didn't know or hadn't seen. It infuriated him as soon as they made a questionable or a close call. Know who you're working with. Coach, I'm gonna head him off, and I'm, Coach, do you have a question? Can we help you? What's your concern? Try to protect one another, because like you started out with, the only friend you have out on that field is your partner. Whether they're a first-year official or a 30-year official, that's all you've got.
That's your team.
So you're only as good as your last call, so help one another.
Remember also, if there's a controversy, if you elevate the level of your volume, your voice, you just went down a rabbit hole that you're not ever gonna get out of. Keep calm. Perfect. If anybody watched Mike's YouTube deal on the throwback rule tournament, go to YouTube and pick it. He handled it for the situation with the coach. Just
Look
perfect.
back
What's that? On the look
on
back.
the girl?
On the girl. With the coach.
No, the girl coach.
Yeah, the lady coach. Okay. He did it.
The Thunder.
That was
He did a
Twilight Zone.
Super job. Never raised his voice, calm as could be.
She was confident that she knew what she was talking about too.
I wondered if she, I think she was playing. I wonder how many times she got away with it. A couple other points, then we'll quit. Again, be silent as much as possible, and you'll never have to worry about being misquoted. Okay? Again, it comes to this, reel it in here. Reel it in. Calm. In control. If you have to be a little more assertive at times, be a little more assertive. But don't raise your voice. You've got all the rules, all the protocols on your side. Use them. You need to warn a coach. Coach, to keep this up, I'm gonna have to give you a warning. And of course, they'll go, you go, okay, coach, that's your warning. Now go, coach, now you're in the dugout. Oh, geez, coach, I'm sorry. The protocol is there. So when you write your ejection report,
Yeah, no thanks.
your supervisor, who's ever gonna read that, Jeff Clough,
Yeah, definitely.
he's gonna go, yeah, I did that, that's exactly what that guy said, did this. And he can back you up if you've got your ducks lined up.
It was a few years ago when we were doing, it must have been about 2012 or 13, when Jeff came out and says, okay, give him a couple warnings and then put him in the dugout, and
The only
so
time I had to
I was
write a
dealing with-
report, I've never.
I was dealing with this coach, and it's like,
I didn't know how to do that.
he comes over and he is lighting me up. That's cool. I go, okay, there's your verbal warning. He keeps going, okay, there's your written warning. And he goes, he stops. And he lowered his voice, and we just talked, I said, we can talk if you want. But it was like, verbal, written warning. And he's like, look at me, he goes, okay. And then he's.
There you go. Perfect, man, perfect. Way to do it. Okay, I'll leave you with three things. Be professional on your calls. and be confident in the call. This takes a long time, guys, young umpires, takes a long time, you need to see a lot of it. Develop your own personal ethos now, and back up from being aggressive or the badge. But know your limits, stay in control. Any questions, any comments?
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Hey, looking around this room, we have a lot of outstanding softball officials. And Terry's definitely one, and I mean, there's tons in here. When you're working with them, just learn something. You know, obviously from the discussion, we all have our different personalities, and you're gonna handle things differently. One thing to remember, look the part. Okay, the cold weather's kinda gonna be going, and so you should be able to look sharp without being all bundled up, you know, black coats and whatever, but look good when you get to the game and be professional. Comments before we go? Gary?
Just one more thing, there are a couple of newer officials.
Yeah.
That may not have all the shirts.
Mikel's gonna have this for me.
Is that McKell's?
Yep,
I
I
was
got
just
it.
gonna ask you, you got a blue shirt?
I found one, Nate.
So,
I got her.
okay, I didn't want to mention her, but,
Yeah.
and Brandon has a baseball shirt, so,
Fine.
and I think medium large, if you,
Who needs
most
one?
of us have 9 or 10
I probably
shirts
have-
sitting
I
in
have
our
a- I
bag.
have all Dawn's, so what sizes?
Brandon is probably
Large.
large.
Yeah.
I-
I work with him and I'll bring an extra blue shirt.
Okay, so, I mean, we all have 10 of them. I mean, I even have 4 pair of pants on them. What am I gonna do with 4 pair of pants now? But
And the other thing is, be on time.
And share, I know we all paid for them, but help them out. You know, they're new, we need them, like I said, we don't leave. We need
I
you.
brought those 2 girls, what do you think? Where do you think they came from?
Well, thank you very much.
I don't know.
Where's her bonus?
Don't thank me
Oh,
yet.
no, because she asked me about getting out of the game today, so.
My dad died, okay?
Okay, let's-
My dad died.
I don't know if she was working with me, so I had to get out of that game.
So-
You've lost it, Bob.
Okay, did you have anything else, Mike?
Let's have a great night.
Let's finish up the meeting, then you do all your, anybody have anything else? Okay, thanks for coming.
2 weeks, another meeting, 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from tonight.
2 weeks from tonight.
Good luck in your games.
Micah,